Yeah, so the topic is implementation of critical route maintenance interventions. My name is Okyere, the Regional Highway Director for Ashanti Region. Yeah, so the order of presentation, yeah, we will talk about the introduction, some road surface defects, which we need to appreciate. We talk about the road surface defects. We talk about the road maintenance works. Also, the critical road maintenance intervention, that is the subject matter. The pothole patching activities that we do undertake, reshaping, and then we talk about spot improvement and emergency works. Under the road maintenance, we all know that it's carried out to preserve the road as near as possible in its original condition. And so road maintenance is very critical and shouldn't be actually neglected. So, roads, when they are constructed, deteriorate as a result of the traffic loading. We all know, then we have the climatic and the environmental conditions and other factors which could be due to accidental damage and other things. So, roads, when they are constructed, obviously would have to be maintained. Otherwise, it will get out of hand. Now, we need to understand the road surface types that we have in Ghana. And we have two main types, that is the paved and unpaved roads. For paved roads, it has to do with the asphalt concrete. And then we have the BST, which is the bituminous surface treatment, Portland cement, concrete, that is and the paving blocks running surfaces. And these are rigid pavements. And for unpaved roads too, we have the gravel and the earth. So we need to appreciate these two main types of road surface that we have in Ghana, and also be able to understand their defects that these routes may manifest, and so that we propose the needed intervention. Now, to be able to identify the defects, we undertake what we call the road condition survey or the visual road condition, and then to determine the type and severity and extent of the pavement defects, which also assesses the condition of the road and then assist in the determination of the remedial measures. So the types that we have for these defects, for paved roads, you can have the road surface defect itself, where you talk about potholes, alligator cracking, bleeding, rutting, depression, raveling, transverse cracking, longitudinal cracking, shoulder drop-off. These defects would have to be noted so that at least you know that when they manifest on the road, you will be able to propose the needed remedial measures. On the road shoulder too, we do have some defects like the excessive heights, which we normally call the high shoulders, which usually when it happens on your road, you have drainage problems. And you have the ponding and overgrowth. Overgrowth is where you have vegetation encroachment coming on the road, which impair visibility and also have safety concerns on the road. Now, for the roadside, you have some sidewalks that you need to also assess the condition of the sidewalk to be able to detect the defects. So you can have siltation, you can have weeds and damages by vehicles running on the sidewalks, which you need to also fix to ensure that the road is properly maintained and to avoid water from entering from all sides of the road. Now, for drainage aspect too, you need to also determine the defects on the culverts, the bridges, and the side drains, that is the drainage structures on the road. Here we are looking at siltation, damage, broken, the capacity of those drainage structures. You are also looking at some ancillary facilities like parapets and head walls. If they are broken, you need to fix them, to make the road safe. Now, on unpaved roads, we would have to also know the defects that occur on unpaved roads, that is gravel roads. Like I did indicate earlier, you can have the either gravel or earth surface, which form part of the unpaved road surface. So the defects here include loose gravel and dust. Loose gravel on roads are very, very dangerous, which could also facilitate skidding of vehicles from the road and cause accidents. Dust is also impairs visibility. Then we have potholes. Corrugations are also dangerous on our gravel roads, which we need to also observe if they do occur. And we have rutting, depression, erosion gullies. As we are going to enter the rainy season, most of our gravel roads are going to suffer erosion gullies, and that is also not too good for our roads. Slippery and rocky surfaces too are also not good. Vegetation encroachment is also not good on our roads, which we need to cut our grasses, frequently. We have soft spots and then flat reverse crown. So these are the defects that we need to also observe on our gravel roads. Now, the road washouts. As we are going to enter into the rainy season, you will see most of our roads being washed due to the maybe the rainfall intensity and also the inadequate capacities of some of these culverts and other protective structures on our roads. So most of our roads do experience washouts during the rainy season, and it could occur on both paved and unpaved roads. Yeah, so now having gone through the defects, now we need to undertake some activities to be able to address and or solve or address or remedy these defects. And now routine maintenance is very key and critical. Now, activities that are carried out on the road once or more times per year, and that is routine maintenance. I mean, you have to undertake these activities on the road once or more times per year. Now, it could be in the form of a cyclic activities. That one is on regular basis, and it doesn't depend on the traffic or climatic conditions and the road character. So you have to undertake these activities regularly to make sure that the road is cleared of each defect that we have mentioned. Like grass cutting, the vegetation encroachment would have to deal with the grass cutting that we have. Siltation and other things on the road, we would have to undertake the silting of our drains and culverts. And then when our ditches are also weedy and our ditches are full of silt, we need to also clean them with maybe gravel, especially on our gravel roads. That's where when we do reshaping and ditch cleaning, we need to clear all these drains to make sure that there is free flow of runoff through the longitudinal side drains to ensure adequate drainage on our roads. Curb cleaning is also very critical that we also have to look at to promote drainage or to facilitate drainage on our roads. Most of our curbs, you see the rains will bring a lot of silt, debris to block, the curbs. And we need to undertake cleaning of these curbs to ensure that proper or adequate drainage is promoted on our roads. Now, recurrent activities, these are also regular, basis at a frequency which really depend on the engineering and traffic characteristics of the road. Now you have pothole patching, which now you see most of our roads have developed a lot of potholes, and we would have to undertake pothole patching and then to be able to make the road very safe for motorists. And we have reshaping and then the grading of gravel roads also on our unpaved roads, which we need to undertake to correct most of the defects that I had mentioned earlier on, like the rutting, the flat crown. You have the loose gravel that you need to reshape to really, remove those ones to make sure the road is safe and it's, be able to restore its original, original condition. Spot improvement also is critical and is done as a recurrent activity to ensure that some of these soft spots that we have, on our unpaved roads are also corrected or remedied. You can also have even soft spots by construction of culvert to improve, drainage at a particular, location. So routine maintenance, like I said, is extremely important and must be given top priority. And so the road condition, it deteriorates rapidly when routine maintenance is neglected. And I want to emphasize that, yes, it should be given, top priority, because routine maintenance is extremely important. When you leave it, you realize that the road deteriorates beyond a certain point that, you would have to spend so much money, to bring it back, through periodic maintenance, and in some cases, a pure reconstruction. And that is very, very expensive. So we need to give priority to routine maintenance. Now, for the other activities that we do have, that is periodic. But we will not talk much about periodic. My lecture will be, or the presentation will be mainly on the routine maintenance. For periodic maintenance, is carried, on the road over a long time period, usually a number of years, to, preserve the structural integrity of the road. Now, this includes resealing, partial reconstruction, minor rehabilitation, and even asphalt overlay. Upgrading, actually, most of our projects nowadays, we've been doing upgrading, and for one reason, it's very expensive. And because of that, much attention has not been given to the classical periodic maintenance, like the resealing, partial reconstruction. These activities are also very critical that we need to also take a second look at and ensure that most of our roads receive periodic maintenance to be able to extend the lifespan of our roads. Now, these activities are very expensive, but then when routine maintenance, especially when routine maintenance is delayed and neglected, but then if you make sure you undertake your routine maintenance, on time, regularly, you realize that the periodic maintenance will not be so expensive. So like I said, under this topic that we are going to have, we have the road maintenance activity need to be given urgent consideration as implementation to restore the road service levels. So road maintenance interventions are very critical, and we need to ensure that urgent attention is given, to restore the road service levels. Now, the critical road maintenance interventions that we have actually fall under these three main headings. That is, it could either be a routine maintenance or a periodic maintenance. And then you can have emergency maintenance. These emergency maintenance could either be routine or periodic. Routine or periodic. But then, like I said, I will only concentrate on the routine maintenance and that of the emergency maintenance. So under the routine maintenance, pothole patching, which we want to dwell on pothole patching, and then also we will talk about the reshaping and grading of gravel roads. These are two critical recurrent activities that we need to undertake to ensure that our roads, are given the needed attention when it comes to routine maintenance. These are the two key recurrent activities that we need to undertake. Then also, when you come to the cyclic activities like the grass cutting, the salting, and we have to look at it and then be given the needed support to be able to implement these activities. And that will go a long way to save most of our roads. And then also tension, or making sure that emergency situations, we attend to them as quickly as possible, as the name implies, emergency, so that we do not delay the remedial solutions for emergency works. Now, pothole patching works. Previously, we used to do direct labor, but now, let's say about 95% of our projects are procured on contract. Now, these projects are supposed to be awarded, or we award these projects to qualified MRH, classified, contractors. Pothole patching activity is a scheduled work activity. When contracts are awarded, it's expected that the contractor is given a schedule, to work as and when needed. So a schedule will have to be prepared and then given to the contractor, and the contractor is supposed to ensure compliance to make sure that he goes by that schedule. Now, the activity is carried out, like I said, once or more times in a year. Once or more times in a year. So, for instance, you have a route like Accra Kumasi Road, and you can go and patch a pothole on that route several, times, within a year. That is when the potholes spring up. Then you schedule the contractor to quickly patch. And it's expected that where the potholes are patched, you are not supposed to go and patch at the same location. That means the work should be done very well. Maybe the pothole may be done probably maybe at different locations when maybe those sections happen to be very weak, and you need to also go and cut and patch the potholes. Now, based on the contracts, provisions, the works done are usually measured and certified for payment in accordance with the bill of quantities and the contract conditions. And the unit of measurement for the potholes, we have meter square. Now, these pothole measurements and grading of high shoulders, these are all, procured on contracts, and they are all scheduled work activities that we need to give to the contractors to follow to make sure that the works are done in accordance with the schedule that is given to them. Now, for potholes, you need to use the appropriate and approved patching materials such as the gravel, bitumen, and the chippings. Now, these proportions would have to be determined very well, and make sure that you get a very good premix to be able to patch the potholes. Now, like I said, the importance of the pothole patching you have is a top priority intervention on paved roads, and it corrects defects that are the potholes, rutting, depressions, and it has to usually it improves the road surface riding quality, safety on our roads, reduction in accidents, and then it prevents the ingress of water. That is when it patched very well. Now, our national roads are given top priority, especially when it comes to paved roads, because we need to give priority to our national roads, interregionals, and the regional roads. Now, if you realize that at the regional level, when we have lots of, let's say, contracts, and maybe we need to do some relocation on our national road to make sure that all our roads, especially the national roads, are given top priority. Now, when you move on the N6, that is the Accra Kumasi, you will see that, yes, from Dadieso all the way, we've done our best to patch, let's say, about almost about 90% of our potholes. In fact, we targeted the critical ones due to budget constraints. You can have a lot of these alligator cracks still on our roads, but then we targeted most of our potholes, I mean, the very big potholes. Now we say we don't call them potholes, we call them manholes, because of we have left these potholes to degenerate into manholes. And so we targeted on the big potholes, but then the raveling and the alligator cracks, which had not formed into the pothole patching or the potholes, we had left, but then we have patched the critical ones, to make sure the Accra Kumasi Road is safe. Now, the methodology or the procedure for the execution of potholes, we first and foremost, we need to do pre-marking of the areas of potholes, to be patched. And this is done in grouping. Every pothole has a specific depth. So we group them into some depths, maybe from 0 to 50, 50 to 100 mm thick, thickness of thickness depth. And we group them. So we have to mark and group all of them. And then we make sure that this schedule or pre-marking schedule is given to the contractor to ensure strict compliance. Now, it is done in such a way that it is given to the contractor as quickly as possible, and the contractor also moves in so that there wouldn't be much difference between the actual work done and then the schedule that was granted to the contractor. Now, before the contractor works, it's expected that adequate traffic control and warning signage should be deployed around the working area to enhance safety of workers and also motorists on the road. Now, before the work is the actual pothole, you have to mark out, in squares, that is in squares or triangles or rectangles around potholes, including weak edges to at least, about 0.15 beyond the edge. That is about 6 inches beyond the edges, the very weak edges, so that you can remove all. And you have to cut, the marked area has to be cut, and then you remove all the loose material beyond the pothole depth, and then dispose of the unsuitable material. Now, you need to compact the excavated surface and backfill with approved base material and compact to the right specifications. Now, afterwards, you apply bitumen and patch with the approved premix. The premix must be approved and compact to specification. Now, the finished premix level of the patch pothole must be slightly higher, about 12 mm, above the existing road level. The idea is that with time, traffic compaction will bring it to the same level. And that will also help in not allowing water to pond if there is that place becomes lower. Because once water ponds there, it begins to seep into the pavement and disintegrate the patched material you've done. And now you have to clean up after patching some area of potholes, and then you need to move to the next section. The contractor would have to clean up the work area and remove all equipment signage from the site, and then allow traffic to use the route unimpeded. Now, these are some pictures on the Kumasi Dadeɛ, so that is the N6, that we have some pothole defects, just some few ones, and you have workers, also contractors, workers undertaking the cutting of the pothole and the patching works. So you have a patch surface like there's a picture showing the pothole patching underway, and for participants to know. Now, on the reshaping and gravel of gravel routes, this is also a critical activity, and reshaping involves the rail leveling and compaction of gravel roads. Now, we usually use this terminology interchangeably, that is the reshaping and the grading. Now, you have the grading works involve only the leveling of the gravel roads without a compaction. Now, the essence of the reshaping on the grading is to improve the road surface condition and ensure adequate drainage. It restores the importance, it restores the smooth riding surface, reestablishes the road crown and crossfall to ensure adequate drainage, remedy defects such as the corrugation that I did earlier mentioned, and then improve safety, that is reduction in road accident when it's done well. The equipment is mainly the motor grader. Usually use motor grader. So the methodology here is also making sure you are also provide adequate signage for safe work, and then the grader is expected to clean out the roadside ditches and
recording in progress
of the contract. And then you have you reshape the gravel and then windrow the material on each side of the center line, making sure that you spread the loose material on the road to ensure adequate crossfall. The grader is expected to be able to do sufficient passes, as required to ensure smooth riding surface. Usually we do not use any compactor, but once the grader is moving and passing on it, and then vehicular traffic using, and it will allow some kind of a compaction on the graded or the grading works that is being done. So we have some pictures showing the grading of our road with a machine, that is the motor grader, cleaning the side ditches and making sure that the side ditch is well cleaned and cut. And then on the right-hand side, you can see a completed section, which is, the road has been formed, and then the crown, has been formed well, and then you have the crossfall to allow proper drainage on the road. Now, spot improvement or emergency works. These are it could be in the form of maybe treatment of soft spots on gravel roads. It could even be on paved roads. Even if you have a broken culvert and it's on a paved road, then it becomes a soft spot that you need to treat. But on gravel roads, soft spots are also treated, using approved sub-base material. You can have emergency repairs of washouts and road cuts. We've been experiencing most of these emergency washouts on our roads, and we have to undertake, or we do undertake, emergency repairs of these washouts. We have treatment of bottlenecks and causing traffic congestion on our roads. I will show in the course of the presentation, I will show a clear picture of bottleneck treatment that we did on the N6, that is the Kumasi Road. Emergency culvert construction too is also considered as spot improvement works. These works are needed to restore the service levels of our roads. The service level is very important. So if you have any bottleneck, any road cut, you need to treat as early as possible to make sure that the service levels of the road, are maintained. Like I said, these works usually, because of the emergency nature, they are usually carried out by resourceful and reliable contractors. And because of the long procurement that we have to go through to procure some of these emergency works, usually what we do is that once we have resourceful and reliable contractors in our regions who are executing existing contracts, then we would have to make the necessary assessment of the emergency works, seek the approval of the engineer, and then issue same as a variation order to enable us undertake these works under emergency conditions, for payment to the contractor. So that is what we've been doing. Now, this is a typical picture of, a washout on the Sunyani Road, which is the N6, that is the Kumasi Sunyani Road that we also experienced. And there were 2 sections we experienced this washout last year. And we were able to use our, like I said, resourceful contractors to undertake these washouts. And we have these pictures also showing for the boulders that we have to quickly put in to reinstate the washed out area to ensure safety on the road. Now, if you look at this, the treatment of the bottleneck that I did indicate, this is used to be the Dadieso, the railway crossing that is on the Dadieso to Kumasi Road, that is on the N6. We used to have a railway crossing. The railway crossing is under these paving blocks, and the whole place used to have a drainage problem. Water was washing the material just around the rail line, and always vehicles, when they get there, they slow down, and it was causing a huge vehicular traffic congestion on the road. And so we have to come up with an idea of laying pavement blocks. And thanks to the regional crew, they helped with the direct labor. We were able to procure some materials, and we undertook this exercise. And now we have this beautiful, section, and there is no more traffic congestion at this point. Now traffic is flowing very well at this section. Now, among the critical intervention that we also have to look at is the cyclic work activities like this: grass cutting, the silting, the cleaning of the ditches and drains and curbs, this emergency removal of runoff material or salt deposited on our roads. As we are going to enter the rainy season, you realize most of our roads, and due to the way we've been developing around the road corridor, a lot of development buildings are springing up. You see them, a lot of the runoff coming from the adjoining land onto the road. So you see most of our roads being flooded with a lot of silt. And so we undertake some of these activities to ensure that the road is safe and free from all these defects or problems. Now, these works are carried out by what we call single man contractor. and we call it SMC. And these works are very, very, very important. Maybe you might see people cutting grass on the road. You might think that they are not important. They are very important. And we will later on go through the importance of some of these things. You realize that, grass cutting, for instance, when you cut the grass, you are improving, safety on the roads, the visibility. When the grass encroachment, you have vegetation encroachment, you see that, even armed robbers take advantage to hide and then, perpetrate a whole lot of crime. So it's important that the road is cut to make free from this vegetation to improve visibility and safety on the roads. You have the silting. When the drains are also silted up, you need to undertake the silting to make sure that there is adequate and proper drainage on our roads. Even and then you have the drains, curbs that you need to clean. So we usually undertake 5 times, in fact, 5 times in a year for grass cutting on paved roads. That is, if you have paved roads, you need to cut the grass, like somewhere around March, May, July, September, and then November. For the southern and middle belts, that should have been the normal, practice. And then on the northern sector too, you need to cut about 3 times in a year. Now you have also for unpaved roads is usually 3 times in a year for the south and the middle belt, and then 2 times in a year for the northern sector. Some of this had been reduced due to budget constraints. Otherwise, like every other month, you need to undertake grass cutting. There is a certain height that you need to cut. You shouldn't allow the grass to grow beyond a certain height. And so we should have cut the grass frequently, to ensure that, you meet these requirements for the SMC works. But due to budget constraints, we are not able to meet these frequency. The next challenges have to do, we have budget funding challenge. We have also delayed procurement and implementation, especially for the pothole and grading works. Usually getting the approval delays the procurement, because if you get the approval, you have to go through the procurement cycle to ensure completion of this cycle before works can commence. And then the frequency, like I said, due to budget constraint, it has reduced, and so it's affecting the performance of our roads. Also, misplaced priorities. So, like I said, routine maintenance should be given the needed attention as far as road maintenance is concerned. Delayed payment to contractors too is also a challenge. And then also contractors are coming up, a lot of contractors coming up, and then, their personnel also, the technical know-how of pothole patching works is also not very good, which we need to do or undertake training for them. In conclusion, I want to say team maintenance is extremely important and must be given top priority. In fact, we would have wished that we get 100% routine maintenance on all our routes, and that we should have adequate budget provision, and then ensure that we also plan in advance and also undertake timely execution of the works. And then also for the supervisors to also make sure that we do due diligence and ensure effective work supervision for quality delivery. We say that it is better to fix a problem when it is small than to wait and let it become bigger. They say a stitch in time saves 9. Thank you very much for your attention.